You're listening to Lighthouse Conversations, brought to you by Lighthouse Haven, a spiritual home for your awakening soul. Lighthouse Conversations is a show where awakening souls gather to be inspired, connected, and enlightened. Spiritual spark plug and host Chelly Canales, that's me, will guide you through the twists and turns of your journey to a safe haven where you are finally free to live your best light. Each episode contains a conversation with a guest who has gone through a spiritual awakening, detailing their unique and life-changing experiences in an intimate and candid way. Although everyone's experience is as unique as they are, we all share one common thread. We're all seeking something. So, come join us on this journey and be prepared to leave with resources that will supercharge you into inspired action. Here's today's episode. Hello, awakening souls. I'm so glad you came back to join me for another episode of Lighthouse Conversations. So today I'd like to introduce you to Teri Smith. Teri is an incredible soul. She's really been through some of the hardest things you can imagine. She has had a history of addiction, and she spoke about that in her TEDx speech about the process of recovery. And it was about the story of recovery more than it was about her own personal journey. In this episode, she really dives deep and gets really vulnerable, telling me about the moment when it just hit her that this was rock bottom and she had nothing left to lose. And from there, she found her freedom. She has spent her career just in the most loving way, helping people through their own recovery, helping facilitators of people helping others through recovery. And she's been able to be this bright light in the field of people overcoming addiction. I'm so inspired by this woman. I think that you will be as well. She reminds me that no matter what mistakes we've made in the past, we're still worthy and we still have spirituality available to us. No one is perfect, and we can choose at any moment to start anew. So I hope you enjoy spending this time with Teri as much as I do, because I truly believe she is a bright light in this world and she's meant to make some major change. In fact, she already has. Here's her story. I was so pleased to meet Teri last year when we each did a TEDx talk at the same venue at the same time. And I remember being so moved by her story of recovering out loud. And I'm going to let her tell you more about that. But she comes to the table with such full heart and such presence that her power can just be felt for feet and miles around. So it's a joy to know you, Teri. And I can't wait to hear about your story of awakening.
Thank you so much. Those are kind words.
It's all true.
So, it's funny because to hear those things, for me, it's a little bit humbling, because I think maybe I don't, I just appreciate that. That's kind of you.
You got it. Sometimes we need each other as a mirror. It's harder to find it in ourselves. I know that's true for me. But I'm happy to be that for you, because you are all of those things.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So take me back. I know you've had a major period of recovery, but is there one moment where you can pinpoint where you said, "Oh my gosh, life is not what I thought it was, and I see things through completely different eyes"?
I really appreciate this opportunity, because with the TED Talk, the intention for that particular talk was to hopefully express that recovery process, and that recovering is the story. And I did not want to get too much into my personal story, because there's just so many different things. And some of the things that I did not share were because I didn't feel like, I think I feel like I'm ready to share those. I can remember a specific time. I am somebody who has been through three treatment centers prior to getting my life in order, getting to a space where enough was enough. And what I want to share with you today is that awakening happened in a prison cell. I um, I was given a few opportunities
Mm-hmm.
to be clean and sober, and I had gotten myself into trouble with probation. Um, Nothing major at the time. However, when a person struggles with staying clean and sober, you end up violating that trust, and I ended up not in jail, in prison. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember clearly um, by myself in a very small cell here in Denver Women's Correctional Facility, a light um, coming through the window, and believe it or not, a sense of peace, um, that there is no choice. Um, you you must. This was what I heard. You must listen, and you must take this all in, and you must see this as a new beginning.
Mm, yes.
And so, what that looked like was from correctional officers to a case manager to a person doing a an assessment, that looked to me like being completely honest. Just let everything go and be honest. Because I feel like when we want help, sometimes we're afraid to let people know exactly how much help we really
Mm,
need.
yes.
But at that point in my life, I think I shared with you that it was highly recommended by the state of Colorado that I get treatment, and this is the behind
Mm-hmm.
of that story. Um, uh, I think that at that there was just this spiritual moment in that room where it was like, just let go. You have nothing else to lose. Just let go. You haven't got it. Um, be be a sponge. And so,
Yes.
yeah,
And everything changed from that moment.
yeah, yeah. Everything changed. My attitude changed. I had, I literally cried every day. Every single day I cried, and lots of regrets, and lots of regrets, and get into the shower and cry, and hold it together for the day, and um, but uh, very aware. And one of the other girls put it beautifully, that, and I'm she has her beliefs spiritually. She
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm Jonah in the belly of the
Mm-hmm.
whale. and
Mm.
and that was it kind of made sense to me in a way that help is here.
Yeah.
um, so pay attention. That could give you an idea of just how severely addicted I was.
And it's incredible because help can have been around the whole time, but it's not until you have that moment with yourself that that transformation can happen. People can tell you all day long, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the recovery process is kind of this delicate balance between people loving you and wanting to show up for you and have tools for you and have time for you, and you being the person able to accept it and say, okay, I'm going to let my guard down and let you help me. And I imagine it doesn't just, you don't just do it one time and you're like, okay, I'm good. I can accept all the help I need. It's a dance, isn't it?
It is a great point. Yeah, help was around the whole time. People believed in me. People believed I could do it. Probation officers, judges, family
Mm-hmm.
members, friends, coworkers, everybody saw this person that I didn't see. And so I guess life has a way of saying, well, we're going to put you somewhere to where you have no choice but to look for that person.
Yes. And then you receive the message because if things have been stripped away from you, I believe you suddenly have a different perspective of being able to receive. And I'm just
Correct.
imagining you in that cell and the process of awakening, by and large, no matter what context is in, there has to be a letting go of certain things in order to be the next iteration of yourself. I think about the caterpillar to the butterfly. I think about the snake shedding its skin. I think about these processes that are painful. And if you're going to expand into your next version, your fuller self, there's going to be, it's going to hurt. It's going to be
It
painful. What is so amazing about your journey is how you've taken this kind of painful process of transformation. You've come out of it yourself in a really beautiful way. But not only that, you've shown that light all around you, and you're able to speak by speaking your truth, recovering out loud. Other people have someone to go to. That community is created, which makes it much more likely that healing can happen. Tell me about how you decided to take that step into helping others recover.
I have always wanted to. I've always kind of wanted to help others achieve their goals.
Mm.
Ever since I'm little, I wanted to be in the helping industry. I started out as a hairdresser, right? Then I'm like help people that way or help. And when I entered treatment, my last time in treatment, where I received the "Don't Feed Your Monsters"
Yes.
um, document, um, I just was in awe of the counselors and the case managers and the people. And I was like, they're just so great and they're making such a difference. And I want to do that. I want to help other people. This is a tough issue. This is a tough thing to admit. Um, this is the first time openly where I've, said I was in prison because so much shame. But
Mm-hmm.
if I can say, uh, if I could say I changed and things were bad, hopefully another person and hopefully another woman says, "Well, how?" and show me how, and that brings me a lot of joy and a lot of purpose,
Mm.
and that's kind of the decision is that I just got into it. I just got interested in this entire process.
It's a beautiful thing. And I remember thinking this at TEDx, hearing each woman's story, story after story after story. And, from that point on, all I keep thinking, and what I've said a lot, even in my podcast, is when one person or one woman tells their truth, countless people heal. Just knowing that I'm not alone in this. Someone else has gone through it and she made it. She's doing it. I can do it too. It's a service. I almost feel
Yeah.
like it's our gift back to the world because there are gifts in the challenges that we have, and I have to commend you, and I have to say thank you for feeling safe to be able to speak your truth out loud, because you're going to connect to so many people through this that are going to feel your
Well, thank
heart and
you.
feel inspired to be on their own journey in that positive direction. It's just like, it's amazing. Wow.
Well, thank
So,
you for not screaming when I told you. It's like, well, there's
no,
something for you.
no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's incredible to be vulnerable. We need more of it in this world. It's a
I
superpower.
agree. Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. So as you were going through this recovery process, you had a community, you found people around you that were able to support you, help you get back on your feet. And you're not only back on your feet, you're thriving. What other resources did you have? Were there certain books or podcasts or, stories or communities or groups, anything that really made a big difference for you?
Well, so there was, and I'm not sure I'm going to say her last name
Hmm.
correctly, but there is this author who has since passed away, Shakti Gawain. Is
Oh, I
that
don't know her.
it's Shakti?
I'll look her up and put
Ah,
her in the show
she's
notes.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic, and it just she is a person who writes about being present, finding your inner light, creative visualization, and she's
Mm.
a spiritual kind of guru-y. She's been around for a very long time, but the 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 spirituality um, put me on my feet. But I
Yes.
will tell you my favorite story of my favorite story from a mentor who was a very unlikely source. Um, I was out of out of the treatment center that I talked to you about with the TED Talk. I had a very tiny apartment because a person who rebuilding their life with a history and then the lack of credit has got to find and advocate for themselves with people who are taking a chance. So I got this landlord who said, I'm going to give you a shot. And I had a 1 bedroom apartment above the Oriental Theater.
Wow.
Um, and,
Yeah.
and I love it. Yeah. Like I looked out my bedroom and that sign, that Oriental Theater
Uh-huh. How
sign,
cool.
neon light, you know, all night. But I did not care because I loved that space. And so I had a parole officer who took a great interest in the people on his caseload. And this just happened by chance. It was my birthday. I was getting ready to leave my apartment and go buy myself a ring.
Mhm.
It was my first birthday in my new apartment, and I'm gonna go buy myself a little diamond ring and to celebrate. And I got a knock on the door or my phone actually, and it's Officer Simpleman here to do his visit. And they come in. They don't just they come in your apartment. And so he comes up the stairs, comes in, and he goes, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, it's my birthday, and I'm going to go get myself a present." And he said, "Sit down." And so we sat down at my little table, and he said, I'm really concerned about you." He said, "If I go to your job, you're at work. If I come here, you're here." He said, "You're either at one place or the other." And I said, "That's great. That's good." And in my eyes, I
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, that's really cool, right?" And he said, "It's not cool." He said, "If you don't find community, you will fail. And you will relapse and you will not live the life that you're meant to live." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, what do you like to do?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know. I like to drink and I like," kidding.
Yeah.
But, I don't know
Yeah.
for sure what I like to do. I said I went and bought a bunch of um, beads, and I've been trying to make necklaces, but it's not really, I'm not that into it. And he said, "Well, um, have you been to church?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, there's a church up the street. Maybe you could go there
Hmm.
and you could create some community there." And then he looked on my TV, and on TV was Wimbledon, a
Hmm.
tennis tournament. And he said, "It looks like you like tennis." He said, "Do you play?" And I said, "No." And he said, "There is a park a few blocks away, Berkeley Park." He said, "They have tennis courts over there. Why don't you check it out?" And I said, all right, I'll try it." And he said, "Let me know how it goes. If you need any support, let me know." He said, "It can be a little intimidating, but I want you to put yourself out there." And so, when I got done getting my diamond ring, I went over to Target and I bought myself a little, beginner racket, can of balls, and immediately went to that park and started hitting against the wall. And I kept looking at the signs that said uh, tennis lessons Saturday, and I struggled because I was still in that space of I'm Teri, the recovering addict. I'm also on parole. People will not like me. People will not accept me. But one Saturday morning, a voice said, "Get up, get dressed, and guess what? You do not have to introduce yourself as Teri, the recovering addict. You just go and introduce yourself." So honestly, I walked to that park and said to myself, one foot left, right, left, go. I went. Um, as funny as this sounds, it changed my life. I became a member of the community. I became Teri. I was just Teri. And people were friendly, people were nice. I still, August 9th will be 14 years
Wow.
sober for me. I still have those same friends. Um, I went on to win tournaments. I've been number one in the state for my ranking. It changed my
Amazing.
life just to come out of my
Oh, wow.
stop eating your monsters, come out of your skin, and do something. Be brave. Be brave.
And it's funny, that's why we reconnected. I ran into you at Wash Park. You were having a tennis tournament. And I
Yes,
said, we've
yes,
got to talk.
yeah, yeah.
That is so
Um,
amazing.
so funny, right? Because I've gone from uh, too afraid to even go interact with people to running that tournament. So it
Wow.
just introduced me to a whole new community, and it also took me outside of myself, and it's helped me help other people recover because that's the missing piece. That's so there's therapy, there's avoid your triggers, there's all of that, but there's also socialization, and there's
Mm-hmm.
also this spirituality, this place of zen. And I think that most of us find that place of zen when we're doing something we love.
Yes. Oh, I absolutely agree. It puts you in a different, your brain is in a different wave, and you're able to receive because you're in the zone. You're experiencing life in the moment. You're not thinking about what's coming later or what's wrong. You're like, how do I hit this ball right now? And what's my strategy? And I'm
Right.
here. I'm here. It is so beautiful. So you have something you love. It helps to have something you love to, to give your energy to and to create with. It takes having a community, being out there and having the support of others who see you, who fully see you. And it takes listening to your inner voice. When you said something told me I need to do this thing and you listened, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
journey. There's so many times we hear that voice. And we're like, not now. I can't do that right now. Maybe not. I don't know who's
It's
talking to
not
me.
the
I don't
right
want to know.
voice.
It's not.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That must be meant for somebody else. And the fact that you were able to hear it and say, I'm going to act on that. All very important things towards living that awakened life in a beautiful way.
It was it's such a thing, right? It was like it was such a gift. It's the birthday gift, and it
Yes.
just happened to me that way. Um it just happened to me that way. But prior to that, there were other things that happened, but that day in particular, and that person who decided to say, sit down and slow it down, you're doing it wrong, changed my life.
Mm.
Changed my life. I've been able to do many other things just because I that's a piece that all of us who are in recovery, boy, it's got to be taken a look at. There's like I said, there's learning, learning your triggers, learning why you use drugs and alcohol, learning how to quiet that voice. And then there's getting an apartment, getting a job, and all of those things as well, getting your life back together. But there's also go outside. Or,
Yes.
even if it's not go outside, even if jewelry making would have been my
Mm-hmm.
thing, then that would have been my thing. But find other people who like to make jewelry and connect with them.
Yes.
Connection,
It's connection
connection.
is so important with your inside and with the outside world. And it can be a lonely process going through an awakening because suddenly you're just kind of free falling. What's happening? This isn't the world I thought I knew. And it's amazing to have somebody to look back at you and either share that experience with and have them reflect yourself back to you or to get some kind of feedback. It's not always necessary to get feedback, but sometimes it's nice to hear another perspective. They'll take you from here this little perspective to this much higher, grander perspective where you can see your life from a different angle. And that's always helpful. I find just
Yeah.
taking a walk with someone and having a talk that just can shake up so many things and get ideas flowing and get creativity going. It's such a gift. I like to stand and sing. Like I'm a singer, I'm a performer, but sometimes if I feel stuck, I will literally like, can I get some Lady Gaga karaoke, please? And I will just sing at the
See,
top of my lungs.
yeah.
And by the time I'm done with all that breath moving and all the energy shaking around, it's like I'm in a different space now. My vibration is raised. So if we can find that thing that brings us joy, it's a game changer.
That's so true. And I love how you put it because it's shaking it out. It's um
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get so swallowed up, right? I was the talk about don't feed your monsters.
Yes.
Sometimes I think, no, this isn't a monster. This is real. This
Mm-hmm.
I truly am, bad, blah, 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 or whatever, insert whatever. But you're exactly right. You have to shake it. You have to shake your body, shake your brain, shake your breath, however that happens, just to see a different perspective.
Yes, yes. And I know you talk about this in your TED Talk, but can you describe a little bit more about feeding your monsters? What does that mean?
Yeah, the monster is the negative self-talk. So the process, we all do it. And that's why I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
the TED Talk on that, because we all do it. What separates us is how we react to those monsters, or it doesn't divide us, but it does. This person isolates, this person punches a ball, this person uses drugs and alcohol, this person overeats, this person whatever. But the monster is our habit self. So messages that we've been feeding ourselves for years and years and years. I need to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not lovable. I'm Nobody likes me. Um, People are out to get me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it
Yes.
looks like an activating of these are things that drive us uh, on a daily basis. And so if we can learn to recognize our monsters, but more importantly, where those monsters come from, we could change our lives.
Yes.
So we talked about the TED Talk, the activating event, the automatic thought, the feeling, the action, and the consequence, and being able to catch them. I, I don't know. I still do it. I mean, they don't
Of
go
course, it doesn't
away.
always.
Those
Yes.
things
Mm-hmm. It's a
that
process.
perfectionist. It is a process, and it might it might not pop up for 3 months, but when it pops up, it pops up.
It is
And I think
strong.
that
Yes.
yeah, I think that was key in my recovery. And I didn't learn this until later on, that all these years I was looking for this magic solution to feeling okay, not being perfect.
Yes.
But that's not it. I'm going to feel bad because I'm not perfect, because I just am. It's learning how to manage that when it pops up,
Because,
or
oof,
learning to
it's
say, I made a
powerful.
mistake. It doesn't mean I'm not perfect. Maybe the perfection is that I'm not perfect.
I
Maybe
would
that's
say.
what,
And
yeah.
finding an okayness with that.
Hmm.
I'm a total perfectionist and I have a really hard time letting go of certain things. But if, like you said, we can take that advice of like, okay, I'm never going to be perfect. I might keep making lots of mistakes, but you know what? I expect that. It's par for the course and I'm just going to flow with it and it will soon pass and take the lesson, leave the hurt behind if there's anything there and keep going because it shouldn't stop you in your tracks. None of us are accepted from that. Every one of us makes, has those moments.
Yeah. Yeah. I think um, because of the because of the mistakes that I've made, that there was a time early on in my recovery where I lived very tight. Do not make one mistake,
Yes,
or
yes.
you will be wearing stretchy pants, stretchy waistbanded pants again, and a horrible, horrible yellow shirt. But there have been people in my life, mentors in my life, that were like, you made a mistake. This does not mean you're going to lose everything. And I think that there are some of us that, gosh, we we over exaggerate everything, and
Yes. Oh,
it's
yes.
hard for me to admit that I am an over exaggerator. I'm a big old sky is falling. So I have to learn to
Mm.
manage that. It's not going to go away
And if
completely.
only, no, it won't. And if only we could just have the grace for ourselves the way we give it to others, wouldn't that be a
It
game changer as
would be
well?
wonderful. Right.
I try
Right.
every day. It's hard. It's hard. I want to ask you if you could give yourself a piece of advice from, you're now who you are today to who you were, say, 20 years ago. What would be that nugget? What would you like to tell her?
That might make me cry. Um, I guess I would say, you're stronger than you know. You're you're more valuable than you think.
Mm.
Um, when you say that to me, when you ask me, my mind goes directly towards the bullying that happened
Mm.
as a junior high girl.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I would, sometimes working with people who are in recovery, sometimes I tell them, because they've got their own bullies, that you don't have, those people are temporary. Those
That's
people,
right.
you can't let them define you. You can't let other people define you. You get to define yourself. There's this time, like, what happens to us sometime when we were this kid running through the
Mm.
sprinklers, and
Yes.
doing the mud, and singing out loud, and dancing, and no coloring, didn't need it, and all of a sudden, uh don't do that, don't, what happens, and and to get back to that place is magical,
It
right?
is, and it's an unlearning process because I can say for me personally, when I started to lose that was when other people's opinions of me started to sink in. And I realized there was
Yeah.
something wrong with me. And then over time, I realized there's nothing wrong with me. There are things I can fix, of course, but if they make fun of how I look or how I dress, or none of those things matter. And if you can learn to say, well, that's the way you see the world, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true, that's a gift. But when we're young, we're so impressionable. We feel like everything is the truth if someone says something about us, and growing up is a process of shedding those things, unlearning those things, because it doesn't need to stick with you. It doesn't mean it's true.
Right. Right.
Oh god, those are painful times. I feel
Right.
it.
And I guess we all had it at some level, right? What we feel like we're the only ones
And
that
I just
Yeah,
that are
I
going
hope
through it.
for this next generation, as the world is becoming more aware of
Oh,
spirituality and how we're all one and how we're all connected. And I think my hope is that there is a generation, the next generation will be more tolerant and kind and less us versus them and more just us, all of us. That's
yeah,
my dream
yeah.
anyway.
Me too. I think I see that a little bit, with
Good.
younger
Yes.
people.
I
So
want to
that's
hear
really
about
cool.
the work you're doing now and tell me what you're up to these days.
Well, when I met you, and I'm sitting in my office right now, I
Hmm.
am currently the vice president of development for a nonprofit organization called Stout Street Foundation. And we are a 2 to 3 year residential program for adult men and women who are in recovery from substance use disorder. We've been around for 44 years, and I am fortunate that I get to do all of the special events. I get to write grants and marketing, PR. I also get to work directly with the residents who are in the program. So a mentorship role. Um, I am, this is let's see, I've been here 12, I'm starting my 13th year. However, I am getting ready to venture out on my own.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yay.
so beginning uh, mid-July, beginning of August, I will have an agency called Peer to Peer Recovery Resources. And the purpose of that organization, it's not a nonprofit, but the purpose of that venture is to provide coaching, peer coaching. I think that has been the theme in my life, that's made a difference in the quality of my recovery. And I'd like to help other people, more people, recover that way. It's a lot of studies done on the importance and the success of peer-to-peer interactions. And so we'll see how far this goes. So
I'm
new
so
chapter.
excited for you. This
It's so
chapter,
scary.
it is, but you know what? And I've learned this because I've had to jump off many cliffs this past year. You're standing on the
Yes.
precipice and you're looking down. You're like, how am I ever? No, don't make me do it. And I'm scared and I'm crying and I'm hyperventilating because I've done all of those things. And then you jump and suddenly you're just like caught by the most beautiful soft clouds and hands and people all around you who applaud what you're doing. And it's a glorious experience. And so I'm so thrilled for you to be experiencing this in your life right now. You're going to make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. You already are.
Well, thank you so much. I do want to take one opportunity to tell you that um, I have watched you, and I have through Facebook
Mm-hmm.
seeing the new things that you're doing and your bravery, and you are one of the people who inspired me to do
Thank,
this, to make this move. I swear.
thank you.
So I
Oh,
always
wow.
think you guys are so brave. You trusted yourself, and you said, "I feel this and I'm going to do it." And I'm like, if she can, then I'm going to try too. So
That fills
thank
my
you for
heart so
inspiring
much.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh,
It,
you're so
it was
welcome.
wonderful to run into you because
It was
I'm like, she is. And,
it was meant to
you
be.
know,
We were supposed to run
yeah.
into each other, and you saying that fills my heart because the main reason why I wanted to do this was for this reason, so other people can say, I can do that too. I can do that too. My story matters. My purpose matters, and I just want to see people activating all over the place and saying, yes, yes, more and more. There's freedom to do it. There's space to do it. Society is opening up more to people doing things like this, and I'm so proud of you. And thank you for that, those
Thank
extremely
you.
kind words. It means the world.
Thank you for being a role model to me too.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, I'm going to have some links in the show notes where people can look at your foundation, where people can look at your new venture.
Okay.
And if you want to say a website or anything right now, you're welcome to as well.
Okay, well let's let's do Stout Street Foundation because I mean I just they're wonderful people here that really care and really know what they're doing, and I I'm sorry. I
No.
wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the guidance and the support that I get here. So www.stoutstreet.org, one of the greatest and most well-established treatment programs in the metro area. And it's,
Fantastic.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, everyone, please check that out and keep an eye out for Teri and her new venture. She's going to be doing some incredible work. And thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me today, Teri.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to Lighthouse Conversations. If this show resonates with you, it would mean so much to have you rate, review, and share. Don't forget to follow us at chellycanales.com and on social media.